the traditional sailing boats built here in the West Indies is a Carriacou. Used for fishing and carrying light cargo around the Caribbean until the 1960s, they're now popular with sailors for cruising the islands. Louise Moran went for a sail.
Carriacous were a common sight in the Caribbean waters during the first half of the last century.
Everybody ready about? Here we go, going over.
Motorboats eventually replaced them for transporting cargo around the islands, but now they're enjoying a revival for racing and cruising.
This Carriacou is called Genesis, launched just last year on the island of Carriacou, but built according to the traditional skills of the Scottish settlers.
The Scottish settled on Carriacou, close to the larger island of Grenada, because their boat-building skills were in demand. Alexis Andrews, the skipper and owner of Genesis, has studied the history of how they came to the Caribbean.
The story goes that the plantation owners in the Carriacou and the Grenadines needed vessels to take their produce between the islands and trade and get materials. And they didn't want to pay other people for the service, so they decided to build their own boats. And the quickest way to do that in those days was to get the skills from Scotland. So Scottish boat builders arrived in Carriacou and Grenada in the early 1900s. And they started building slightly larger versions of this, schooners as well. Anything that could carry goods quickly and safely between the islands, as well as doing a little smuggling on the side, for which they had to have a good turn of speed. And that's how the whole design process evolved, really, to make a fast, safe, solid boat that could carry a lot of goods.
Now there are just a handful of boat builders left on the island of Carriacou with the knowledge to build these boats. They cut West Indian white cedar wood from the forests of Grenada and use the traditional skills that came from Scotland a century ago. They've passed them down through generations of families.
And so can you describe the process of the build, how they do them on the island?
Well, for somebody like me, they build a model, they build a half model, so that we can get an idea what she's going to look like. And that's basically some sticks wrapped around a piece of wood, just to get her shape, her hull lines. But for themselves, they wouldn't even bother with that. They would just lay a keel on the beach, make sure she was level on the horizon, and build first a stem, then a stern post, a center frame, and then they would tie what they call ribbons between them. And after that, they would just fill in with the frames. And it was a really basic, traditional form of boat building.
And there's quite a traditional ceremony that goes with the launch of this boat, isn't there?
Yeah, the launch is very traditional. They don't have cranes or a railway to bring her into the water. So the only way to get her in is with manpower. So first of all, they lay an enormous anchor out in the bay with a 6-part tackle on it, and then the whole village basically pulls on it. And to get them all encouraged, the owner, in this case me, has to supply a lot of liquor, as well as sacrificing animals. There has to be blood spilt on the deck. All for good luck, it's all very traditional. And then, of course, a priest has to come and make sure she's christened and given a name.
The passion of Alexis Andrews and other Carriacou owners has put these traditional sailing boats back into the seascape of the Caribbean.
Ready about?
And they hope their lead will inspire others to build these craft before the skills are lost forever in the West Indies.